How you guys doing? Back with another discussion. Someone left a comment saying they wanted a video based on God testing you. Why God tests you over and over again. Um, I don't get too caught up into the religious stuff. I grew up religious, but I don't get too caught up into that foolishness anymore. I just truly believe that God wanted some people to suffer. That's my take on it. I believe God wanted to punish some people. Like I said, I don't get too deep into this religion stuff. I believe that the universe, God, the higher power, whatever you want to call it, uh has it out for some people. The universe has it out for some people. Um like I say, I feel that some people just wasn't dealt the best deck of cards. I truly believe that life is all about luck, the luck of the draw. Um, and I just believe that some people just was meant to catch it, you know. Um, everybody, in my personal opinion, I don't believe everybody was meant to live a great, prosperous life. I believe some people was meant to feel pain, misery, agony, depression. I believe that. I truly believe that some people was just meant to catch it, you know. Life is terrible, man. You know, I don't know what to say, but this thing called life, it's a lot of factors that are truly out of our control. It's a lot of things that we just don't have no power over, you know. Um I don't know I don't know if people still going to church out there, but I left all that church and all that religious crap alone because that stuff it messes up your mind. It stops your mind from thinking clear and from you having a clear perception on life. You know, religion clouds your judgment. Um, some people just got a severe case of bad luck. You got some people who go through life, they never find a companion. They never find love. You know, uh, some people just they just don't have what it takes to win this thing called life. Life is all about chance too. When it comes to finding a significant other, when it comes to finding a mate, that's all about luck. I truly believe that when it comes to finding a companion, somebody that's attracted to you, that's all about the luck of the draw. You know, some people, you know, they're attractive to the opposite sex. Some people are not attractive to the opposite sex. Um, it's a lot of things that are out of our control. You know, IQ is out of your control. Your physical appearance is out of your control. It's a lot of things in this thing called life that are just truly out of your control. And if you was dealt a bad deck of cards, what can you do? um I used to, you hear these old ignorant religious people talk about God is testing you, just to see how strong you are. I don't get caught up into that foolishness, because why does God got to continue to test you for? I mean, just think about that logically. Why does he need to continue to test you? For what? You know, why isn't he testing everybody else? Why does he have to test you? That's why I say I don't get caught up in all that religious foolishness. I just truly believe that God, you know, evidently he's only concerned about certain people. He ain't concerned about everybody, you know. Um, some people was meant to have a great life and to have things on easy mode, And some people was meant to have a bad life with things on hard mode. But I truly believe a lot of this stuff is based on physical appearance, because there have been studies that say that the better looking you are, the better quality of life you're gonna have. They call it the halo effect, and then they got a thing called the horn effect. So those factors right there greatly determine how easy life is gonna be for you. If you're gonna have a good life, or if you're gonna have a life of hell. Uh, Life is very unfair, and unfortunately, some people were screwed from the day they came out of their mama vagina. Uh, what can you say? So, you know, some stupid religious people would say that God is testing you just to see how strong you are. That's foolishness, because how come he not testing everybody else? That's the question you got to ask yourself. See, religion keeps you in a docile, dumb mindset. It keeps you in a mindset of constantly turning off logic. That's one thing I had to understand about religion and all of this, spiritual stuff. It's like it puts you in a state of mind to where you have to cut off logic. And when you turn off logic, when you turn off the logical parts of your brain, that's when you become completely dumb. And religion defies logic. Anything that goes against logical thinking is poison to the mind. So, I used to think that, if God is testing you, that, you one of his chosen ones, and there's this big blessing for you at the end of the tunnel. But I had to realize there's no blessing for you at the end of the tunnel. If you catching hell in life, if things are not good for you, then that's just the deck of cards that you've been dealt, unfortunately. Um, I don't believe that God is testing you because you're a strong person and, he got some great things in store for you. But that's what those religious people believe. They're brainwashed. They believe that it's some light at the end of the tunnel, but it's not, you know, because one thing I have to always remind myself is that everybody is not being tested, and everybody is not living a life of pain and misery and agony. That's what you always got to remember. Everybody is not catching hell in life. Some people have a great life, matter of fact. So I don't get so caught up in all of this religious doctrine, because a lot of it goes against logic. It goes against common sense. So, anything that goes against logic and common sense, I don't even want to hear it anyway. I don't even want to entertain that foolishness, no way. And I just truly believe that the universe wants to punish certain people. I believe that if you don't have what society deems as valuable, you're just going to live a life of pain and misery. That's my take on it. That's my take on why God tests certain people. If you don't look a certain way, if you don't have certain things, then life is going to be a challenge for you. That's just the way it is. But that's my take on it. That's why God tests certain people, because some people they don't have what it takes to win in life. They don't have the intelligence. They don't have the looks. They don't come from a rich family. Some people just don't have the credentials to get ahead in life. And, if you have certain things that are not in, if you have certain, I'll just say this. If you have the odds against you, then, you're going to have a bad life. If you have the odds in your favor, then you're going to have a good life. And that's my take on it. Some people have the odds in their favor. Some people don't. That's life. But one thing I had to understand in life is that anybody that looks at everything from a spiritual point of view, they're brain dead. Because when you're looking at things from a spiritual point of view, you're not utilizing logic. You're ignoring logic. And when you ignore logic and when you try to deny reality, you're crazy. But that's pretty much this discussion for now. You guys have a good one.